My guest today is guitarist in one of the biggest bands in the world. He's on tour with Joe Satriani and John Petrucci on the G3 tour, hitting North America. I'm pleased to welcome back Def Leppard's Phil Collen. Hey, Phil, how are you?
Great. I'm totally calm. I'm on a bus, so I'm a captive audience.
Oh, okay. Perfect. So where are you about now? Where in the United States are you?
Somewhere in Florida, on our way to Orlando.
All right, great. Yeah, you're heading our way. I'm in South Florida. I'm actually coming to see your show on Thursday, so
perfect.
I'm very excited about that. Well, listen, let me say, first off, good to talk to you again. We spoke a couple years ago, right before the Selftitled album, which I guess turned out to be a big success for you guys. Congrats on that. That was great.
Thank you. Yeah,
There seems to be so much always going on. I mean, Def Leppard's never out of the news. You're never out of the news. So I want to try and get in as much as we can with limited time we have. So I want to jump on the G3 tour because that's what you're doing right now. Runs through the rest of this month, I think, ends February 25th. How has that been going? Because the videos online look like a blast.
It's amazing. We are in such a blast. It's like, guitar heaven, obviously. But, I'm playing some Delta Deep stuff as well. I get to kick off the set, with a couple of really furious, fast, instrumentals. We're doing like a jazz rock fusion classic from Billy Cobham. We kick off with that Quadrant 4, which is pretty nuts. And then another instrumental. And then we do some stuff off the new Delta Deep live album and just bring it down. Debbie Blackwell cooks out with us. So it's just awesome. And then, I get back on stage with John Petrucci and Joe Satriani and do a 20-minute jam. Or we actually do 3 songs that are specific, and but within 2 of those songs we get to have a really good jam and just go off on detours and tangents. It's really cool.
Being a big fan of your music and Def Leppard and knowing how you play and you're amazing, not a surprise to me to have you with Satch and Petrucci, who I also follow, and they're incredible, as you know. But I think for some people, maybe seeing you on there was a surprise, right? How did you hook up with Satch and John? And are you familiar with Dream Theater? I mean, what was the way that you guys got together?
Well, they are, but I'm aware of them, obviously. But I done the G4 camp last summer in Monterey, California, and that. I got to play with Joe a bunch of times, actually, and also Tommy Emmanuel was on there. It was amazing. Paul Gilbert, incredible. And then that's really how I got the introduction. And Joe asked me if I wanted to do the tour because we had such a blast at the camp. And I jumped out. I could absolutely do it. I've got some Def Leppard stuff. We got a thing in March, actually, at the Albert Hall. We're doing the Teenage Cancer Trust thing at the Royal Albert Hall in London. So that's going to be really interesting. That's going to be that's a really good cause and everything, and that'll be fun. So we will get ready for that. And obviously, the rest of the year kind of gets a bit crazy. We released the whole Def Leppard catalog on digital, which was a big deal for us because then all of a sudden we're all over the place, all over the world, really. And that's going to make it really quite.
That's great.
Busy.
And I love seeing the band always get that deserved attention, so many years after you guys have been around. And it's sort of sometimes the ball kind of gets rolling for a band again like this. And it happened with Journey a few years ago and so on, where all of a sudden then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame goes, oh yeah, I forgot about those guys. Is that something you guys talk about now that Journey got in and Bon Jovi's getting in and maybe the tide is shifting where, you get your due?
We don't talk about it, actually. We talk about how pathetic it is. When it comes up, everyone else talks about it. We go, we're a rock band that sold 100 million albums, and most of them actually in America. We're a real rock band. We've been together for 30 or nearly 40 years. and the fact that that's not recognised is kind of a bit weird. So if we don't, it doesn't faze us. It's like it's someone else's problem, and if they invite us, yeah, great. Don't care, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, all you need to do is look at the bands that are getting in this year that had to wait 10 years and go, that's insane. Makes literally no sense.
Sure. Yeah.
The Delta Deep live album, East Coast Live, came out Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that album is also just a fun record. You guys sound like you captured the live kind of essence on the album. Talk about playing with those guys and what that's like.
It's great, it's a totally different thing. It's a different format to what the Def Leppard thing is. It's a lot more basic. It's where I pretty much started. I learned to play guitar, listen to Jimi Hendrix and B.B. King and Richie Blackmore and Jimmy Page, and they're all kind of blues players. So that was the starting point, and we used that trajectory or that line to take it a lot further. I mean, we started work on our second studio album, and it's some of it's kind of like gospel almost. It's like it goes from funk, gospel, really hard rock, and it's just all the above. And I like the idea of kind of mixing up and making it diverse, but all based on a starting point, which would have been the blues.
Were you a blues player back in the day? I mean, it's not something that I think anybody would have thought that you'd be into.
No, I've always been a rock player. I mean, but it's blues inspired rock. I mean, I haven't changed anything about how I play. Even on the G3 tour, I'm playing what I normally play, kind of a thing. Just playing more of it. But no, I think even the Def Leppard stuff, it's the same. I play the same kind of way. I think the amp's different. I use a whole different setup for live. Black Star just made me this copy of this on the East Coast Live. I use this little combo, a 60-watt combo, and on this G3 tour, I've got like a 300-watt version of it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, what's the gear like involved for a Def Leppard show? I mean, how many kind of effects and amps and things go into putting that massive sound together as compared to the Delta Deep?
Well, and definitely, I mean, using the same stuff. The guitars are obviously the same. They're a Jackson PC1, so I've been playing them for 20-odd years. It's my signature series. But we definitely we're in-ear monitors, and there's loads of vocals and everything. But I've been using the same Marshall, rack-mounted, JMP1 for like 20 years actually, and it's it's not broke, so ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. So I'm still using that, and then everything else changes. The technology changes with lights and screens and all that stuff, and even speakers. Even the kind of PA and the weight of them and how much they the sound and everything. So it keeps getting better. It's So the gear thing is just a personal thing. It doesn't really make a difference. I played through John Petrucci's rig yesterday, and it's very different to what I use, but it sounded just like me. So you know what I mean? It's
right.
Like it's whatever.
Yeah, well, it's your fingers, your guitar. That's going to have to have that, right? I want to touch base on the Journey thing. If anybody's been sort of living under a rock and doesn't know about this massive tour that you guys are doing. Something close to like 60 dates from May to October. First time since 2006 you've been with Journey. So what's the buzz there, and how did they get together to get these two bands back?
Well, we've been threatening to do that for since then, basically. So it's we finally get there. So it's always like that. People go, "What had you come to choose, say, Poison last year and stuff?" A lot of it is availability, and then you have the availability of the venues and all of this stuff. So there's it really is that. If both bands can kind of pencil it in type thing. So that really worked.
Do you guys plan to do a whole kind of hour and a half set each band on the bill?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to do. I think we're doing a little bit more than that, and then we're doing some of the the baseball stadiums as well. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, you're doing some big places, right? Like at Citi Field in New York or something I saw, or a couple of crazy places like that.
Yeah, so there's some cool stuff. So yeah, we'd like to play a bit longer, but that's just what it is when you got two bands who've got like 1 million songs that everyone wants to hear. It's kind of it limits it a little bit. Yeah.
Well, every time I've seen you guys definitely play all the hits, which is great. You always throw in like 1 or 2 songs that are a surprise. A couple of years ago, you threw in Paper Sun, which was great. So is that always, you got your 10 songs, you got to play, and then, all right, which 2 can we squeeze in? And is there sort of a friendly debate between the members on what song you're going to sneak in there?
And we always pretty much agree on the whole thing. Someone really wants to play something, we haven't played it for years, we'll throw it in there. This year's going to be different, obviously, because of the catalogue, going up on iTunes, so and Spotify and Amazon and everything. So it's a totally different thing this year. We're promoting basically 12 albums.
Yeah,
that a lot of people actually haven't heard. That's pretty exciting, actually.
What's if you're getting a fan that's a younger fan that wants to know Def Leppard other than Pyromania or Hysteria, where would you say? I would like you to hear this.
Well, the Slang album is great because it's very different to anything we done before, but. I don't think you can go wrong with Pyromania and Hysteria. I mean, it's really that's the
well, those are the those are the epic, great class, the all-timers for sure.
But we were working towards that sound, even when I joined the band, we hadn't quite got the sound yet, and then when we done Hysteria, it was like bingo, this is how we sound.
Well, you know what? For me, I mean, the self-titled one from a couple of years ago really holds up compared to those. That's a fantastic record. The sound, the mix of sort of all the periods that you guys, recaptured on there. I think that really stood out.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think, and it was really great the way that one came about because we went in to record a single. And we just had this outpouring of all these great ideas. So it was like, okay, just follow that down, and it became an album. So that's really what happened in the most purest natural form. We didn't have a label at the time per se. We didn't have anyone telling us, you should be doing this, and we'd like this from the band, and we didn't have any of that. It was just like purely following our nose, and and it came out great. I agree. Yeah.
Do you think is there plans to, after the Journey tour, maybe talk about another album, or you don't really talk about that?
Started it already.
Oh, really?
Started it already.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you one more thing, because I saw that you had worked with Tesla, and they're putting out an album that I guess you produced the album. What can you tell me about that?
It's really diverse. I mean, 1 minute, the influences on there are like Queen, the Beatles, Aerosmith, AC/DC, The Who. It's got elements of all those bands and artists, and we really again we followed their nose. It wasn't anything that was specific, and that album, like most great albums, are like a jigsaw puzzle. You get 1 or 2 songs that you're really happy with, and then it inspires you to do something else. So we were coming along, and there was one song that we were, this kind of, if you can imagine, sounds like a cross between Oasis and Bread. If you can imagine that.
For Tesla, that's a stretch, yeah.
And it sounds great. There's another song we've got piano and strings, and it's got a massive chorus, kind of like a Queen song or something. So it's really diverse. I'm really excited about it. It's different to anything the guys have ever done. We spent a lot of time, we backstage and in a trailer and stuff like that on tour. We'd be doing the guitars and everything, and writing the songs and piecing it together, like that. And then right at the end, we done the drums and the lead vocal right towards the end. But other than that, you know, we was just like getting bits done as we were flying. And Ronan McHugh, who done that Def Leppard album, he's our out front guy as well. He actually mixed it, so
cool.
It's got just a great sound. You know?
When is that due out?
I want to say May or June.
All right, great. We'll keep an eye out for that. Look, I'm really
Yeah.
excited about seeing the G3 on Thursday. You growing up for all my life, it was Def Leppard and Dream Theater somehow were two bands that were my favorites. So to have you guys out there on the road together is going to be really cool to see. I'm really excited for it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's so much fun, honestly. It's great.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Phil. I'm always a fan and can't wait for the tour, the new album, whenever it comes out, and everything you're doing. Please keep it up and hope to talk again soon.
I shall. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
That's cool.
Bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
Thanks to Phil for the interview. You can catch him on the G3 tour throughout February and again in the summer on tour with Journey. For upcoming news and interviews, please check theprogreport.com, follow us on Facebook, @The Prog Report on Twitter, or download the podcast on iTunes. Thanks.